All right, here we are in the pro shop. We got an Ion Pro on the drill press. We have laid it out according to what my buddy's looking to get drilled on it, and we're gonna get everything lined up and ready to rock and roll here in a second. Loosen everything up on the press. Perfect. Got it nice and lined up. All right. We're all square. All right. So we'll start with the middle finger, or the left one. So he is half an inch away, which means negative half an inch here. And we're 3/4 of an inch lateral pitch. So that's away from the center, away from the bridge rather. All right, there we go. So we got locked in on the press. And now we just line everything up. So for two-handers, it's pretty easy because we only drill a couple holes. So we really only have to line it up with the bridge and then get it dead on the line we drew across. I got these handy dandy little magnets that make lining everything up super duper easy. So that's about right on the side to side, and then here we're gonna lower this down just a hair more so we can see a little better. I'm gonna actually turn this light off because it's a little hard to make out because it's right on the CG marker here. So we lock it in laterally. We already locked it in front, but we'll get on both sides here. Make sure the jig's tight. And we get some loud noise. Prepare yourself. Alright, so that's one hole in. Now we're going to go to the other side. So he's still a half away on the Y, and the X we're going to go to 3/8 right. So we got to get that dialed in on the jig. All right, 3/8 right. Get everything lined up. Alright, I'm going to turn this off again so I can see the front to back super duper easy. Okay. Locked in. At least temporarily. And then we got to measure this root. Alright, front and back needs to move just a hair now. That's good. Still look good this direction. Double check tightness everywhere. Lift that puppy up. Alright. Double check our measurements. Alright, we're half away. And 3/8 to the right. Good job. Here we go. Get this zeroed back out before we forget about it. Zero it out. So back over to the workbench, and I'll move the camera here in about 2 seconds. All right, let's flip this puppy around. Sorry for the jitters. All right, we'll move it back this way a little bit. And we need to lower it down just a hair so you can see. All right, so we got the ball up here. Now, for what I'm doing today, I'm just going to bevel the fingers and then I'm going to ship this thing off. He's going to install the grips himself. So nothing really for me to do there. So let's go ahead and just take our bevel sander, and edges are super duper sharp when they come off of the drill press. That is a recipe for cracking if you don't round the holes a little bit. So we're just gonna grab a bevel sander, use this guy right here, and go down and fix this thing up. Here we go. Alright, that's all there is to it. If we get a little closer here, we will see we got a little bit of rounding on the edges there, and it's ready to go. Drop it back out. We're going to wipe it down. A little ball cleaner, spray it, get the markings off. We do need to do one more thing since it's a two-handed ball. You got to mark it with an X in the palm, so it can be used in USB-C competition. So we're going to do that with our handy dandy ProSect here. I like to go about, generally I like to go about 3 inches down from the center of the bridge, but that's going to be tough in this case because it's right on the marker, so we can go 3.5, or we'll just shoot it a little short here and go a little past 2. And we'll get it more or less a 45-degree angle. It doesn't have to be a big, huge mark, just enough to make it legal. Alright, so we get a little X right there. I'll zoom in so you can see it. Got a little X. And then we'll get our scribe tool, which is this guy right here, a little scribe pin, and we'll engrave the X. So here we go. Get this lined up using that. the finished product. We got a little X on there so you can see it. And we're good to go. Just make sure these feel good, and they do to me. Edges are nice and round. A little bit wider bridge that he likes, and I think we can call this one done. Okay, so be safe with this one since it is traveling. We're gonna get some bubble wrap. I'm gonna get some bubble wrap, roll it up, and we'll put it in the holes just to give them a little bit of barrier. About like that. We'll go one more, and then we'll cut this out. About like that. Suck it down in here. Good. And we're gonna do the same thing on this side. Okay. We'll roll it up. Shove that down into there, and then we'll cut it off. There we go. So that thing should travel just fine. We'll put it back in the plastic. Toss it in the box. And that one's ready to go out the door, on its way to my buddy. All right. Next one I got up is a Rotor Grip Rockstar. Let's see here, it's a Rockstar. I have got it laid out for me. This is 4.5 pin to PAP. It's 3 3/4 CG to, or PSA to PAP, and then the pin buffer is 2 1/4 here. That's what this is here. To get your valve line, then you drop down, reverse your PAP. So I'm 15/16 up, so 15/16 down, 4 1/8 over, gets me to here, and then I just do my span, and then I'm locked in. Go finger, and a Jopo outer down here for the thumb, and we're good to go. All right, so we're gonna flip this thing around and get it back ready to film over at the drill press here. Hopefully that looks okay, even when I'm standing here. You won't be able to see much. Let's see if we can't get it a little bit closer so you can see the actual process. Maybe somewhere in here. Let's see if we're drilling. You should be able to see it. Let me move this stool out of the way a little bit. And that'll give me a little more room. We'll back it up just a hair. All right. So here we go. I'll get the same thing going here with this one. All right, very important. We're back to 0-0 on the drill press. Obviously, you don't want to start without that being on at a neutral position. And yeah, we'll just go through my process here. I'm by no means a professional. I just have picked this up as a hobby. So I'll just show you my methodology, and if there's people who have suggestions in the comments of ways to do things better or differently. I'm open to suggestions for sure. Would love to hear it. All right, so let's see if we can't get this in there. Good. Okay, so first step for me is I usually start with fingers. I'm very confident in the measurements because I've measured them like 2 or 3 times usually. And the first thing I do is I get my drill bit lined up kind of vertical, and I just double check that I've got the ball in here in a reasonably straight position. That it kind of follows the center line pretty good, and that one looks like it's doing great. So then we lock it into the press real good, into the jig, and now we feel confident that we're at least at a nice neutral. Okay. Then next step, for me, just the way my measurements go, I like to go middle ring down to the thumb. It lets me have to move the digitals the least amount. Let me get my measurements pulled up here. Okay, so on my middle finger, we are minus 250, which is minus a quarter inch for the vertical pitch. So that is a quarter away, and then 3/4 left. So we got a 3/4 left. Boom, get that locked in. And then now it's literally just lining this up with the lines that are on the ball. Okay, that's kind of in a good spot there. And then I can already tell here I'm way off, so I gotta move this way. Okay, that looks pretty good that way. So we're actually just a hair past where I'd want it. Lock it in real good on the left to right, and then we just double check the front to back, and it is indeed a little off, so we're gonna unlock the here, and there we go. Locked in front to back. And if we want, we can just double check side to side one last time. It looks good. Make sure everything is tight. And then we get ready to drill. So double check our measurements. Minus 375, minus 250 for the Y. We're good. All right, let me grab my remote for the vacuum. And it's gonna get a little loud, so here we go. Hey, and if anybody's got any comments or anything, feel free to throw them up there. I'm happy to chat while I do this. It's kind of a lonely process otherwise. All right, here we go. Turn it on. right, so that's hole number one. We'll zoom in there so you can see it pretty good. Pretty decent on the line hittage there. So we're good, and then we'll put you back over here. All right, then step two is rinse and repeat. So for me, my ring finger is 0 on the forward and reverse pitch, and 3/8 to the right. So we just got to lock that in on the XY table here. Just get it over to 375. Almost there. Okay, perfect. And then now it's the same thing. It's just unlock everything and line it all up. Kind of temporarily hold that in place. Put this down low towards the ball so we can get a nice clean setup. Get our magnet. Ooh, we guessed pretty good on the lateral there. Now let's see. I feel like I missed it pretty good on this way. Yep, we gotta go about right there. Okay. Yeah, a little bit more. There we go. And we'll double check our side to side here. Yep, that looks good. Lock that in. Okay, then we're just gonna double check everything is clamped in tight. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the key when I go to drill is just don't go too fast. When I've had accidents in the past, it's just going a little too fast on the drill press. Here we go. The beauty of the tri-oval is that I can now drill the thumb without taking everything out and redoing it. There we go. Need to put a little grease on that thing. It's getting a little where it's locked into place real good. Okay, so I'm gonna pop this puppy up there. And then I am 5/30 seconds to the right, which is not really an even number on here, but I go with 156 on the press to get it pretty darn close. That's as close as I can get to the thousandths place. And then it's just a matter of getting this thing in the right spot. So we want to get, that's a little too far. Okay, that's pretty close, and then we'll double check it here in a minute. Turn this direction. Okay, we're gonna go a little bit more that way. Flip it around. There we go. Okay, and then, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be doing a Jopo outer. And that light is a little bright, so we're going to move it just a hair. Double check our, that's really good. And then we just lock everything in, just double check. All right, locked, that's locked, that's locked. Okay, we're gonna throw that up there. And because of a little OCD, we're gonna double check it again, still 156. On there. All right, loud noises one more time. Now, what we're going to do here is a little bit different. We go down just enough to cut the circle out in the top. Then, so I don't wear this bit out, I'm going to switch out, get a 1 3/8 bit, eat out the most of the hole, take it out, put this back on, go back down, get that last little bit out, so it's not doing so much of the work. Because these puppies, the interchangeable bits are really expensive. All the drill bits are really expensive, but these are the most expensive. The other ones, a little cheaper to replace if I need to do it. All right, here we go. All right, here we go. And without changing anything, we're just going to take this bit out, switch over to the 1 3/8, pop that thing in, clear off all the dust I just made, turn it back on, and go to town. Here we go. Now we're taking out the bulk of what we need to from the plum. Now we switch back to the Jopo outer bit, and we finish this thing up. Turn it on, and here we go. All right, done with that. Now, very important to zero the press again so that when we go back to cut down the outer, we don't screw up. So undo all this, undo this. Okay, and there we go. So we've got top holes and the bottom hole, you can see there. Let's go pick out an outer. We'll talk about installing it. So flip it around here. Okay. All right, so in my drawer here, I've got several Jopo outers. So we got various colors. I need to reorder because I'm definitely low on a few. So let's see. It's kind of an orangey yellow logo, so I could use a yellow and it would look something like that, which is okay. I could go with something like a white to be different, which is all right. Could go with a red to try and blend in, but this is a much different red than what's on the ball. Or I could just go with the black and just see if we can get it to blend in a little bit, because who cares about what the outer is. And I think that's the one I'm going to go with. Let's just go with the black outer. Plain, boring, but that's okay. So we got the outer, and we need to make sure that the hole is nice and clean. So I'm vacuum it out one more time. We'll take something that's pretty alcohol based, like some ball cleaner. And we'll just take our finger and we'll wipe it down real quick. Get any leftover stuff that might be residue that might be in there, and then we'll take the dry end and kind of dry that off. The alcohol dries quick, so no big deal. Now, in that process, I accidentally wiped off part of my line here for lining up the outer. So for those of you who've never done a Jopo, there is a notch on one side, and that notch lines up with the bottom part of your hole here. And yeah, so let's prep one of these things so you can see how it goes in. So I've got like a little rasp here, and I go and I just rough up the outside. This is so the glue that holds it in place will have a little more surface area to work with. So I like to go all the way around once, and then I flip it in my hand and kind of go the same thing but go around again to make kind of like a crosshatch on the outer. And the result is, let me wipe it down a little bit. If you can see there, it's kind of a rough outer on it, so that will be nice and tacky for the glue to adhere to. We've got just some super glue, this Jopo Grips branded super glue here, and yeah, so we're just going to go around lightly on the outside with several dabs of this, and then we will put the outer in place. Okay, so here we go. Cap that off. Then before it has a chance to set, we line this thing up. All right. So that is in place, and technically you're supposed to let it sit for about 10 minutes. So we'll find something else to do and talk about for the next little bit. Maybe the thing we should talk about is why I'm drilling Rockstar. Okay, so I have been bowling at two different centers over the summer, and I'm gonna walk to the trash can while I do this. So, and across that time, I figured out that a lot of the equipment that I really like throwing at my normal home center doesn't always look the best at some other places, particularly the places I'm bowling this summer. So, across the summer, I have been trying out various different things, trying to find a setup I really like. And what I've been able to determine is on the fresh conditions at my Wednesday night house, I need something that is strong, but not as strong as some of the pieces I like to throw the most, which is like an RST Hyperdrive, an Ion Max. I have an Outer Limits Solid that's all kind of in that like big, strong, smooth category, asymmetric type of balls. So, um, I've tried some symmetric balls over there. I have a hammerhead that looked pretty good. I've got a Summit Ascent that I didn't like the way it looked. I tried an Ion Pro, which did okay. I tried Ion Pro Solid, didn't like that. So, just really trying to figure out what looks best over at this house for me and my game. So I'm going to give a Rockstar a try. This is a nice, strong, symmetrical, pretty smooth and controllable. And that's really kind of the challenge early over here. I know that I'll have to transition out of this ball as the night goes on because the lanes tend to transition quickly at this center. And generally, I end the night in something like an Origin or maybe a Typhoon on some occasions or things like that that are definitely, a little cleaner and quicker down lane because I have to move left and just kind of trust that it's going to get back up the hill. Okay. Those are not the times I've generally had issues. The fresh has been my biggest challenge. The big, huge, strong balls, too big, huge, and strong. The kind of medium, low balls like Ion Pro and the Summit Ascent, not quite right, not quite enough. And so this hopefully is going to be in that Goldilocks zone and be right in the sweet spot. So that's the reason why we're drilling this thing up. We're going to take it Wednesday night and see what happens. So while this continues to set up, we'll go ahead and get my grips in place. So on rare occasion I use colors, but 90% of the time I would say I go turbo, quad, classics. These are the clears. The clears are super duper squishy. Well, ASMR for people. And I really have enjoyed these quite a bit. So they feel great to use them. They're super comfortable, and I don't get any tearing or anything like that. So just like on the two-handed ball we did, we got to take these sharp edges off the finger holes. And we intentionally don't do that down here around the thumb because JoPo's installation instructions say you're supposed to leave it sharp. They do not want you to bevel those edges. They want a nice, tight connection between the outer and the sides of the ball. All right, so we're gonna go over here. We're gonna turn this back on, and we're gonna make some noise again and buzz these holes with the bevel center. Those are done. Now we dry fit the finger grips. And occasionally, because these are so squishy, I just smooth the edge where the label is more or less down so it doesn't grab so hard. Going in. Okay, that's a little crooked. We just twist it a little bit, get it nice where we want it. All right, so here you'll get a nice view of what pitches do on a ball. Okay, so because these holes are pitched, which means they're drilled at an angle. Let me get the other thing installed and then I'll show you. I'll move the camera. But because they're drilled at an angle, when you put stuff down into them, that stuff isn't going to sit flush. Plus, not to mention, top of the ball is rounded and these grips are flat, so they won't ever sit flush. But it's really obvious the more angle you put into the hole. So two-handers generally have a lot more pitch, especially forward and reverse pitch. And those guys can have grips that stick way out of the ball. That thing is barely getting in there. We need to work on this one a little bit more. Let's try it. Tell my bits are still really new because this hole is just the right size, which means it's real tight getting these things in there. So we'll see if we can't make that process a little bit better. It's one reason why you see me run the bevel sander down into the hole a little bit. There we go. It tends to open it up just a hair more. And then for me, that works out great. So about to get these in. Okay, so now you'll be able to see. Yeah, that feels good. All right, so you'll be able to see they kind of sit up off of the top of the ball a little bit. And then over here you can see kind of the same thing. So we're going to fix that. The way I do that is with a razor blade. So I like to use a fresh one each time because it just works out better. So you get it nice and lubricated. I use just some ball cleaner as the lubrication. Then you get the blade flat against the ball. And then just kind of slowly work it back and forth, gently going around the ball to cut the tops of these grips off and get it flush. Okay. You'll see that when we get done, they don't look great. So let's lubricate this thing back up. We'll go do the other one. Okay, get it nice and even here. But easier I can hold the blade, the better. Okay, let me just go around. I kind of turn the ball into the blade as opposed to turn the blade into the ball. Just feel like it gives me a little more control that way. And now you'll see, and this side needs just a hair more because I did not do the best job over here. That's better. All right. So now let's dry this off and you'll see how terrible these things look. All right, so grips, and they're all jagged and rough and whatnot now, which, you know, not great. So then what we're gonna do to fix that is we lift them up slightly, make sure they're dry because they're a little wet still right now. Get our fingers dry. And we're gonna lift them up maybe like a 1/4 inch or so out of the hole, if we can get a hold of them. Okay, and then same thing on the other side. Just enough that we're not going to touch the surface of the ball. Then we're going to get a couple things of paper towel here, fold it over, and we're going to get some acetone. It's just like nail polish remover, but it's really good for melting grips, which is what we're going to do here. So you're going to get that on here. It really shouldn't touch the cover of the ball. That's why we lift these things up. And then we just kind of go in a circular motion, smoothing these things out. Getting our finger pressed up against the grip and just really smoothing out all those rough spots where we cut, so that when we use this ball, one, it doesn't look bad, and then two, it doesn't hurt our fingers because of the sharp edges. So I like to take the edge and just kind of go in there and soften that up a little bit too. Right. All right, that one already looks a little bit better. We're going to take a little more acetone. Just do a hair more. I didn't get any on there. So just a hair more acetone, and just kind of press up against the top of the grip, smoothing everything out. And this stuff evaporates fast, so after a few seconds, you're done. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing to the other grip, and then I'll show you the result. So this side we're going to smooth out with this acetone. And it really does an amazing job. It won't be perfect, but it will be significantly better. Okay, let's get a little bit more here in the other corner. Go back in. Inside of the grip real quick, get rid of those sharp little edges, and there we go. All right, so push those back down into place so that they're nice and even with the ball now because we trimmed them up. That looks good. Okay. Missed that corner. Push that down. All right, good. Now, if we take it and look, you can see, woo, that's a little close. They are smoothed out a whole lot, and if we take it to the side, they are no longer sitting above the edge of the ball. So that's how you trim down grips and get them looking decent enough that people won't really be able to tell you're trimming your grips. Okay, and now we just get some glue and we pop these puppies into a permanent home, or semi-permanent at least. Clean up our mess. Make sure you cap off the acetone because you can make a mess if you don't. And then I like to switch to, I've taken a ball cup and I put some foam around it. This really keeps the ball from slipping. So when I'm going to do something like glue inserts into place, I like to use that because the ball won't move around as much when I don't want it to. So I have a ton of these little doodads, which is just a little extension that goes on top of your glue. And that lets you get easily down the side and sit lower in the ball. Make sure that the glue actually is open. Let's actually take that razor blade and just get off any dried glue that we see at the top there. All right, good, looks okay. Take this little nozzle, shove it down there. All right, and then I just get a little screwdriver. I like a little kind of smallish size flathead, and we'll see if I can't get you a little closer here to follow along with what I'm doing. Lower this down. Whoa, that went fast. Sorry about that. Okay, so we're just gonna make sure that feels even. We're gonna pull down, and then you just do a very tiny bit of glue. Gotta get the glue to start. Just a little ball of glue down at the bottom, and that's really all you need. A little goes a very long way when it comes to glue. We're gonna do the same thing here, just a nice little dab. Okay. All right, and this stuff dries in about 10 to 15 seconds, so it doesn't take any time at all for it to set. All right, so then we are gonna glue over here. I glue, if you think about the grip as a clock, I glue at about 6 o'clock, between 9 and 10, and between 2 and 3. And then I don't glue at 12 o'clock at all. Some people do, I do not. To me, I like it to have a little give on that side of the grip. And there we go. All right, that side's in. All right, and we're done with gluing. Cap that back off. Okay. Now the hard part is more or less over. We just have to do one last thing, and that is to trim down the outer. It has been exactly 20 minutes now, and you really should only have to wait about 10. And so here's the trick I'm going to tell you about cutting this down. There is no trick. The real trick is make sure that you're zeroed out on your XY so that you don't drill down into the cover of the ball. Ugh. Just kind of lock this into place. You gotta make sure you get it level. Lock these down. generally have it in the center there. It doesn't have to be exact or perfect. We get our plug cutter. This is a turbo plug cutter, but it works great for Jopos as well. Works great for just about anything. I still use my handy dandy magnets. Come down and kind of generally make sure that I'm centered-ish on the hole. Flip it around here. Anybody got any questions that are viewing right now? I see there's a couple people watching. Okay. And then, again, this is just like when you're drilling the hole. The whole key is don't go too fast. Just go slow. Light amount of pressure as you go down, especially when you get really close to the top of the ball. Less is more. Don't do too much. That's really it. Okay, so here we go. Alright, and that's more or less it, guys. We just drilled 2 bowling balls. Alright, so just looking at it, you can see it's nice and cut down. Pretty even with the thing there, no lip, which is good. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'll go get my thumb after a while and double check that it fits good. Last thing I'll do is just wipe the ball down, and then we can call this one a day. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate it. If you ever have any questions or comments, I'm happy to listen, try and answer what I can. Like I said, I'm no expert. I've learned from watching a lot of videos. Shout out to Luke Rostall and asking questions of people I know locally. Jason Triplets, one of them here that I got a lot of information from. Really nice guy. Awesome if you need a ball drilled. You can reach out to me. I can put you in touch with him. But yeah, there you go. So lines are off. There she blows. We're all set. Throw my Jopo thumb in there and ready to bowl on Wednesday. All right, so that's it. I appreciate it, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Those of you that did, and yeah, I'll see you on the next one. And yeah, I'm gonna try and stream League on Thursday night. Won't be Wednesday night, but I'll see what I can do for Thursday. And yeah, I'll look forward to talking to you guys then. Take it easy.